Alright, so in this video I want to try to show you what's become of modern academia. I've been raiding universities a lot and my raids have been making the news. So I'm going to be showing you what academics are saying in response. So I'm going to be nice. I'm going to censor out these people's names. I probably shouldn't, because I don't think they would extend that respect to me, but whatever, I'll be nice. Blank writes, judging by the sheer volume of punctuation errors on your academic page, one would have to conclude that you are very young and a product of the system you critique, in that you know how to use Google but not a comma. Alberta's education system has never been great shakes. You didn't go to school in Alberta. You didn't go to school at all. Anywho, good luck. You know, she didn't capitalize J on judging. How unbelievably, ignorant you have to be to dismiss someone by their spelling and grammar when you yourself don't even have good grammar. Ed writes, this website is a joke. I'm pretty confident that's not their real name, so I don't mind showing that. You have no arguments. This is just babble. I'm guessing you could not get educated, so this is why you have to blame everyone else for your problems. I love the part where they say you have no arguments. I have 28 pages of arguments. Jer writes, there, correction. You should have this work edited and spell checked before posting. Now, ironically, he's quoting a comment I made in the comment section. It's not even the work, it's a casual comment. I'm gonna blank out this name. Sounds kind of real. No offense intended, man, but you sound like a wingnut social justice warrior who just had a hard time in school. My experience with the education system is that it is anything but abusive and indoctrinating. If anything, I think we need to push these kids harder to succeed. Look at how bad millennial unemployment is. You gotta love the feminist comments. For some reason, whenever it's a feminist, they always leave like a one-letter name. I don't know why, but anyway, so this one's from E. You are a disgusting excuse for a human being. You cannot be an MRA and a feminist, and I know which side you're really on. B. Take a guess if they're a feminist as well. These are definitely different people. I know B is from Lethbridge, I think, and the other one's from Edmonton. Nevertheless, this is about as close as you can get to an actual criticism. Okay, so after a mere 20 minutes of reading this rhetoric, I can only register a general lack of shock at no one taking you seriously. Your so-called academic version is riddled with inaccuracies and false interpretations of historical sources and fact. For example, footnote 46 references a paper written by an undergraduate as part of an introductory history course. Hardly the stuff of hard scholarship, and your interpretation of the author's work is disingenuous at best. Footnote 47 decries the lack of evidence available to chart the motivations of men volunteering for military service. This is patently false, as documentary evidence in the form of letters, diaries, and memoirs are readily available in archives worldwide. And this is just with a bit of legwork. Your agenda is clear, your evidence is spurious, and your methods are despicable. Okay, so let's address her criticism, all right? Now, the first thing you're going to notice of academics is they don't ever attack your logic, they attack your authority. So she's pointing to the fact that I cited a paper by an undergraduate. Now, is the paper wrong, and is what I'm using it for wrong? Okay, so what did I use this paper to prove? I used it to prove that Nazi women could hold jobs during World War II. And this is true. All right, I replaced it with a better citation, but again, she didn't debunk the claim at all. I think it's absolutely fine to cite, a grade 4 homework assignment, as long as that grade 4 homework assignment is using credible sources. So, debunk the actual argument rather than just attacking the authority of the author. Now, the next thing she points to is just absolutely ridiculous. All right, so footnote 47 was used to show that men were conscripted into the war, right? And she's talking about how I failed to show the motivations of men volunteering for military service. Well, conscriptions aren't volunteers. These are people who were forced to fight in battle. In Quebec, there was a small revolution in Canada because of male conscription. That's how much opposition there was for that during World War One. Now, this is very common. Academics always do this. It's called the nirvana fallacy. So what you do is you go through a book, you look for one slight error, usually a spelling mistake or something even more trivial than this, and then you dismiss everything based on it not being 100% absolutely perfect in every way. Now, no literature is perfect in every way, right? And even if you're going to go for the nirvana fallacy, I think she did a really horrible job at that, because there's worse citations in my book than this, right? So in some parts I'm quoting news sources, and in some parts I'm quoting Wikipedia, which I think are even less respectable citations on the, academic hierarchy. Blank writes, "This guy is a nut." I reply, "Thank you, might I trouble you for an explanation?" Blank writes, "Yes, your ideas are stupid." I respond, "So in other words, you have no argument. Why does that not surprise me?" Blank writes, "You have no argument either." Wow, this sounds like I'm arguing with a 6-year-old. Yeah, except for the 28 pages of arguments I presented. Those are nonsense. Do you really think that reaching democratic ideas is bad? And blah, 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 it goes on. Squeaky Chair writes, "I don't mind sharing this name. I'm really sure that's not someone's real name. What if this guy is more than a nut? One element that many mass shooters have in common is they write out rambling manifestos before proceeding with their killing sprees." He lists a bunch of mass shooters. Similarly, this Alberta corruption guy has a sizable website brimming with nonsensical rambling. And on top of that, he is known to wander about the U of A campus sticking up posters and depositing business cards that advertise his manifesto. In short, he's a nut who knows the campus, has a bone to pick with society, and is convinced only he is right. Fun. My favorite part is how they say, "I know the campus. I've been there once in my life. And I bought a campus map. And that is how I navigate through the campus." Good thing this dude doesn't know I wear a trench coat. They'd be probably shitting their pants. Now, I'm not exaggerating. This is the overwhelming majority of academics. I'm not only showing you the hate comments. There is nothing. Not one academic said, "Hey, come on, if you're going to do criticisms, at least be mature and look at his arguments." Like, even if you're against me, any respectable person would say, "Okay, let's look at his logic, let's look at his arguments, stop bullying and stop insulting people," okay? That's what any reasonable person would say. Not one academic said that, and we're talking out of, a good 1,000 or more, all right? This guy writes, "You literally have no basis for your theories. In fact, when we study a master's degree or otherwise, we are asked to write a thesis with a topic of our choosing, and we have to create a question around that topic. You've provided nothing but fluff, Clifford." All right, basically, has this big condescending rant about how I don't know anything and I'm, insane. And my argument was, I think it's silly to spend a bunch of money putting wolves back into the environment because they brutally kill moose. And if you're interested in animal rights or whatever, it doesn't make sense to brutally have these moose die. You could have, for example, humane hunting or humane farming. That seems more reasonable to me. And basically, she just says, let me quote her. "This is in no way negative, not in any single way," referring to wolf restoration. So I assume she's some kind of environmental student or something, but whatever. And she goes on and, mountains of condescending insults and name calling. Now this one is fairly hilarious. I'm going to blank out the name here. "Hi Clifford, I work and study in the Faculty of Education, and it was threatening to walk into such a space and come face to face with the Nazi symbols you displayed prominently throughout our building. I can tell you that many marginalized people who work and study there were horrified and felt threatened to see such emblems in our halls. Say whatever you want about Alberta, Ed, and make all the comparisons you want to fascism and indoctrination, but it's traumatizing and threatening to walk into the space where we work and study and see symbols which represent genocide. It was very poor judgment to use these emblems. They are very harmful and have real impacts today. You hurt people with those flyers and they did not have the impact you intended as a result. It is your right to say whatever you want as long as you do not make threats. Displaying Nazi swastikas all over the building is threatening. Okay, so let's take a look at the exact poster we put up. Here's a picture of it. Okay, so you can see I'm comparing Nazi education to Alberta education, and if you look here, it says, "Say no to Nazis" with a crossed out swastika. So you're literally traumatized by someone saying, "Say no to Nazis." Okay, next time I'll write, "Say yes to Nazis." To be fair, this person is obviously, what people refer to as social justice warriors, and they're not so bad, okay? This dude or girl is way better than the other guys. At least they're not being a total asshole, right? They're being oversensitive, but they're not being a dick, right? So, say all the shit you want about SJWs. I think SJWs are still better than your average academic. Your average academic is just a total dick. This guy wrote, "You're glad your views were not misrepresented in the news article, but you are more than pleased to distort, slander, and misrepresent others' views. I imagine all under the guise of free speech." So I asked him to give one example of me misrepresenting the views of others, and take a guess what he replies. "You give me one example." Yeah, I think education is really screwed beyond all possible repair. One of the most important things to understand when it comes to an institution is what matters more than the policies, what matters more than the funding and all this stuff is the people. And when these types of people run education, well, is any surprise you come up with anything other than, 100% indoctrination. And, education really is just state religion at this point. It's government religion.